What's up everybody, Anime X here, and today I'll be explaining why Saitama would get slapped by Android 17 or 18 in the Android arc. And this is going to be based on the thought that he isn't a gag character and that he can be scaled based on feats, and that he's shown. And now that we got that out of the way, it's time to dive right into it. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first arc that I'll be matching Saitama up against is the Seinen arc. The lower tier characters of the Seinen arc are small planet level, while higher tier ends are around large planet level. And the difference in size between a large planet and a small planet is how Earth is considered a small planet and Jupiter is considered a large planet. And the difference in size is so great that 1,300 Earths can fit inside of it, and its diameter is about 11 times more. So characters like Raditz would be faster than light, and then high tier characters like Vegeta and Kaioken times 4 Goku would be dozens of times faster than light, based on the blast that Piccolo shot up into the moon in approximately 4 seconds, which would be a relativistic feat. And this was Piccolo when he wasn't even as strong as Raditz was. So just based on how much more powerful people like Vegeta are than that Piccolo, they would definitely be much faster than light. And he also completely obliterates this moon, and its shockwaves could be felt on Earth, and it's undeniable that Vegeta and Goku in the Saiyan arc are stronger than Piccolo before the full year of training, especially because at this point in the series, power levels aren't very linear. So, for example, if someone had a power level of 1,000 and then another person had a power level of 20,000, that doesn't mean that person's 20 times stronger. It's actually it's exponential increase in power, at least at this point in the series. So now I'll be scaling Saitama to see if he matches up against anyone that's large planetary and a couple dozen times faster than light. Now, going over Saitama's feat is quite simple, so I'm going to get that out of the way since, it'll be pretty simple to scale. Assuming that Saitama only used 1% of his strength against Boros, which I think is pretty fair to say, his feat of getting smacked to the moon and jumping back almost instantly would be a relativistic, if not light speed level feat. And just by multiplying it by 100, just because he was only used 1% of the power, he would be 100 times faster than light, which would definitely put him on a level different to anyone in the Saiyan arc in terms of speed. So now I'm going to move on to his destructive capacity just to see how he truly stacks up against the top tiers in the Saiyan saga. Where Saitama has his most important and best feats of destruction capacity is in his fight against Boros, where he completely nullifies Boros' collapsing star roaring cannon, which in the One Punch Man guide is stated to be able to destroy stars. So assuming once again that he only used 1% of his power, he would be 100 times star level, putting him much higher than any of the top tiers in the Saiyan arc. So far, it's looking pretty good for Saitama in terms of destruction capacity, and no one in the first arc of DragonballZ could even come close to his power. And it's pretty similar in terms of speed too, so 1 point for Saitama, and now it's time to move on to the Frieza saga. Now, the god tiers of the Frieza arc would be Frieza and Super Saiyan Goku, and in terms of speed, these two would have to be hundreds of times faster than light, just scaling off the fact that Saiyan saga characters can reach the speed of light, and people like Super Saiyan Goku would be hundreds of times faster than even the top tiers in the previous arc. If you did want to use this scaling for some odd reason, Super Saiyan Goku should still be faster than light, just because when Goku finishes healing, he instantly travels from one side of Namek to the other side, which would put him at 1/14th the speed of light, assuming that Namek is the size of Earth, just because light can travel around the Earth 7 times in 1 second, so dividing it by half, would give it to 1/14th the speed of light, and the Super Saiyan transformation would make him 50 times faster than his base form, therefore putting him above the speed of light. So for a low ball, you could say that he's around 10 times faster than light, and if you properly scale him according to the series' previous feats, he would be hundreds of times faster than light. In fact, it would be very difficult for you to not take this scaling, because there's nothing saying that this is an outlier or this is inconsistent with the series. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that he's hundreds of times faster than light. And for destructive power, he would be large star level, and the reason I say this is that because First Form Frieza has a very casual dwarf star level feat where he destroys planet Vegeta, which has 10 times the gravity of Earth, and therefore it has 10 times the mass and 10 times as large as Earth. And based on the way he completely obliterates and disintegrates this planet, it would be a dwarf star level feat, and after all of his transformations, that would stack up to about large star level. So once again, we'll see how Saitama would stack up against people in this arc. Now, in terms of destruction capacity, Saitama has anyone in the Frieza Saga beat quite handily because, as I previously stated, he would be 100 times star level. And now I'm just going to use a little bit of headcanon and highball a little bit and assume that when Boros is stated to be able to destroy stars, it means all types of stars, and I would include large stars. So Saitama would be 100 times stronger in terms of destructive capacity. But where it gets confusing is in terms of speed, because Super Saiyan Goku would be hundreds of times faster than light. So he could possibly be twice as fast as Saitama. So the top tier characters in the Frieza arc could blitz Saitama, but they wouldn't be able to hurt him, and Saitama would still be able to one-shot anyone in that arc. So I'm going to give this one to Saitama just because if he got a lucky hit off, they would be dead and would be one-shot. I'm also going to move on to the final arc that I think Saitama would be able to scale to. Alright, so one of the first feats that happens in the Android arc is Trunks completely obliterating Frieza and his father, 2 star level fighters, and beats them quite handily. So this already sets the precedent of there being fighters that are at least twice as powerful as people in the past arc. And then when the androids show up, they completely just demolish everyone. And when I say androids, I mean, 17 and 18, unless I specify otherwise. So when the androids finally show up, it really accentuates the power cliffing in DragonballZ, and it really starts to show when 18 and 17 destroy all of the Z fighters, including Super Saiyan Vegeta and Super Saiyan Trunks, who had a similar level of power, and the androids do this casually. The increase in speed would also be the same in increase of destructive capacity. The androids would they would completely demolish Mecha Frieza, who's already more powerful than Final Form Frieza, who is a star level fighter. They could possibly be hundreds, and I don't want to say this, but thousands of times more powerful than anybody in the Namek arc. And these androids would at bare minimum be 10 times faster and 10 times stronger than anyone in the previous arc, putting them at 100 times large star level, and with a little bit of highball, over 500 times faster than light. So for the final time, I'm going to see how Saitama would stack up against these androids. And I don't think it's going to be looking too good for Saitama in this next one. Alright, so without trying to trigger people, I'm going to politely say that Saitama would lose to the androids due to a couple of factors. The first being that the speed of the androids in this arc would be tens of times faster than Saitama. But unlike the Frieza arc, they would have the power comparable to Saitama and would still be able to harm him, and they would be able to take some of Saitama's attacks. They would be able to swap blows with him, except they are faster, so they'd be getting in more blows. And the second, and arguably most important factor, is that the androids have infinite stamina and infinite ki, so this fight would turn into a war of attrition, even if Saitama had equal speed to the androids. And eventually Saitama's power would wane, and the androids would win. So basically the way I see this fight going is, Saitama not going all out at first, but neither the androids would not either. But I could also see how after a while the androids start to realize that Saitama is not someone they can just play around with and start to take it seriously. And then slowly but surely, Saitama's power would start to dip, and he would not be able to keep up with him for too long just because of their infinite energy. And that's about as far as I see Saitama going in the DragonballZ. And I know this video is going to get a lot of hate from One Punch Man fans, but if you want to debate me about this, let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure we can settle that debate. I'll be telling everyone who follows me on social media what the next video will be the Thursday before I put out my next video on Sunday. And that's going to be something that I start doing from now on. So if you want to know what the next video is 3 days in advance, my Twitter and Instagram is where I'll be releasing that information. So if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. And this is AnimeX signing off.